Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Kevin, Mena, Sarah, and Alexis about the Accursed in theaters and on demand October 14th. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, PD. Great to see you again.
Yeah, Alexis, great to see you. You're a two-time guest, so that's awesome. We spoke last time for Phobias.
Same room.
Kevin, this is pretty cool because, horror is my favorite genre. When I grew up watching some of my favorite horror movies, it wasn't like as big as it is now. What do you think of it right now, making horror movies like when it's like so big and it's like the biggest it's ever been? Like, do you find there's pressure?
No, I find it's so cool because I find like horror is such a forgiving genre, right? You can do something low budget and be cool. You can do something high budget, be cool. Like, to me, and there's just all different facets of horror. It's a genre, but you got like body horror, slasher horror, psychological horror. Like there's all kinds of things. So I love that horror is back in the mainstream. The geeks rule the world, man. Back in the day, man, you read comic books and collected Star Wars figures. You were going to get beat up after school if you weren't playing football or something. Now it's like the cool kids, know about Marvel and everything. So that to me is like horror. It's like it's cool. And I was watching Hellraiser with my daughter yesterday, and it was just awesome. So yeah, I love the idea that horror is back in the mainstream. It's great.
The $1 million question, though, that if it's more kind of like in right now, it's still nerdy, right? Like, is it still nerdy because it's that big? I always think about stuff like that.
It will always be nerdy.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I said, there's so many genres and it's so much lineage of history going, back. It's funny because like the kids today, they think like nothing happened to them before. Like it's like they're liking something, and I'm like, guys, you check it out. Here's the original song this came from, right? Yeah. So. But yeah, and that's the whole thing with Accursed is it's a love letter to me to the 70s horror movies.
Oh, 100%.
It really was to the 80s. I did something I want to do for the 70s, Yeah, vintage horror.
Absolutely. Now, Sarah, let's put the horror aside. Let's just talk specifically about your character. Your character's thrown in a situation where she just kind of has to adapt, and it's just kind of like all this stuff kind of happens, and she's taking care of an elderly woman and everything. I feel like from like a preparation, like mindset perspective of things, like, is that kind of like, how do you prepare for that, knowing that your character is just kind of thrown in a situation, kind of has to adapt super quick and like learn on the spot sort of thing? I feel like that would be a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. Yeah. And it all did it for me. I mean, like, something I really loved about this movie is that we did practical effects, which you just don't see as much these days. Everything is a lot of CGI. So it was cool actually being able to see the things that I'm supposed to be afraid of instead of imagining, what it's going to look like. It really helped with the performance, I think. Yeah.
That's interesting because, Mena, my question for you is basically, that's one of the things I loved the most about this film, because it kind of has the traditional elements of horror, like the jump scares, some gore and everything. But, one of my new favorite things about horror is that there's a lot of different ways to scare people. Like we're seeing with the world we live in now, like people are scary. You know what I mean? Like conversations between two people are like, why is this happening? Why did that person say that? Do you notice that in the script that you're working on a film that has traditional and kind of like new age horror elements specifically?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I don't think I really appreciated it as such when I read it. I mean, I think I was really more focused on, with all my, I think the center of all of it is loss and, and where that really leads her mentally and emotionally and physically. That's a great question. I wish I could, I wish that I think more experience or I don't know.
Yeah, but there's got to be a reason. Like, I don't think the genre is where it's at without movies like this that kind of bend so many different things. Like, I feel like there's so much stuff happening in horror right now. That's why I think like, I don't want to come out like Willy's Wonderland is one of my favorite movies of that genre of all time because it does stuff that like I've never seen before. Kind of similar with this one too. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you have to blend the stuff in the age of horror right now, in my opinion. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love horror. I don't know if you know.
Well, Petey, let me ask you a question, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Do you feel that when you look at a movie like Willy's and you see the Accursed, can do you feel me in it? Do you feel the voice? Do you see things, or is it like completely different?
I feel it's funny. Well, you know, I went in it knowing that it was like the director of Willy's Wonderland, right? So you think about these things a little bit more, but they're very different. Obviously, this one is more kind of like to the point, like very dark right away. Willy's Wonderland has these moments where even though it's not supposed to be kind of funny, you kind of laugh. It's over the top. This one doesn't do that at all. This one just kind of knows its identity a lot. And Alexis, that's kind of my question I had for you, because last time you came on the show, we talked about a horror film too called Phobias. And I didn't ask you anything about this, but for this movie, I mean, I'm not saying any spoilers, but like this is a really scary movie. Like there's some really terrifying moments in it. When you're kind of making it and like seeing kind of in Video Village, like playbacks and everything, are you ever thinking to yourself like, wow, like people are going to like, from the viewer perspective, like the viewers are going to be really scared? Like, does it ever come to mind at all? Or are you just kind of focusing on the crafts?
Oh, of course. I'm always thinking about a million elements at once. And we have a lot of downtime because there's a lot of actors. I wasn't on it 24/7. I mean, just reading the script, I knew that was going to be the case. But yes, things that are written in the script, I knew like, oh God, I don't know if even I can handle this. But like, you know, it's great for the genre. You know, it has its purpose. Like I get why it was in there. It has a very deep meaning. It's horrific, but it's much deeper than just, you know, gore. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mena, you look at a lot of the projects you've worked on in the past, and there's like so many different genres all over the place. Do you like working on a movie like Accursed? Like, can you like rank like horror based on like you working in it? Like, is it one of your favorite genres to work in? Do you like a lot of different genres? Like, I'm just curious about that because you have such an amazing body of work of so many kind of different genres and stories. So I'm just curious where horror ranks.
I mean, I don't know where to begin. I mean, first and foremost, I try to just live in the gratitude. It's fun. I try to appreciate, you know, everyone and what I do. We're making art at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I try to enjoy that. There's so much that's out of my control. I had to process a little shock when this project came to me because that meant like, this is what people think of me for.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. What does that mean? but I just try to, I live my life very open. I'm very open-minded, and I've loved this genre, you know, my whole life. And I could see, you know, the allusions to some of like my favorite films. You know, big fan of Kevin's. And once we had a great talk, I mean, there was so much, I think, there, you know, I believe that all of us were really excited.
I'm actually going to put everyone on the spot. Did anyone, before they like got cast for this and knew they were working on Accursed, like did you all see Willy's Wonderland? Did everyone see Willy's Wonderland? I'm just curious about that.
I had seen it, yeah.
Putting everyone Alexis, you have not? Have you seen it?
I love Kevin because I know the real Kevin, you know, like I don't need to see it, but now I'm definitely going to see it. Like I've been meaning to see it. Anyways,
I mean, it's spooky. It is like
everybody's been ranting about it all day, so
it's the ideal spooky Halloween spooky season movie. No, it's great. The Accursed as well. They could do a Kevin Lewis double header. I can't wait for them to do that. I'm going to recommend people to do that. Sarah, The Order wasn't like horror. It definitely had the moments, Secret Society, some freaked out moments and everything. Did working on like The Order like prepare you a little bit to work in horror at all? Like on The Accursed, or like those not really play into each other that much? Do you know what I mean? Like it's not horror, but there were some scary moments.
definitely, I think horror was definitely an aspect of it. I think there was a surprising amount of comedy in that show as well. So, but I think, yeah, probably. I don't know how, but it did.
It's definitely, the order was definitely like in my opinion, like I spoke to Thomas Elmas a couple weeks ago about this too, like for another project. It's like that was like a genre, that was like the definition of like a genre bending show. Like I didn't even know what to put that under because I just love the genre bending and everything. We have a couple minutes before we wrap. Okay, I'll go to Alexis. When they watch The Accursed, besides getting very scared, what else are you hoping they get out of it takeaway wise?
I think people are they're going to be thinking a lot afterwards and reflecting on their micro familial dynamics. I think there are a lot of things that happen within the storyline that is going to kind of plant a seed in people to sort of like reflect and see those patterns in their day-to-day and their families and like things that'll happen in the future and that might go back to the Accursed and remember. Because that's what good movies do. You know, they make you reflect and see that in your actual life, and you know, don't make those mistakes and learn from it and stuff like that. So I think it's going to have a huge psychological and emotional impact on the audience when they see it. I think while they're seeing it, after they're seeing it, and for years to come, because new things will manifest for them, and they'll always remember. Well, they should always remember what happened in The Accursed, you know.
And the trailer got released recently, and I saw a lot of like, it was a lot of like horror fans and commenting. I just saw a lot of like, I'm in, like they don't have to be convinced more. They're just like, I'm in. So I'm excited for everyone to see it. It's gonna be available in theaters and on demand October 14th. Alexis, Kevin, Mena, Sarah, thank you all so much for your time. It was so great chatting with all of you.
Thank you, Petey.
Thank you, Petey. Awesome. Love your energy.
No,
always a joke.
Love your energy.
Absolutely, no problem.
Do more horror films just so I can be interviewed by you.
This has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Look out for The Accursed, October 14th in theaters on demand. Until next time, this is Alexis, Kevin, Mena, Sarah, and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.